weekend must watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through all the movies, TV, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. I'm your co host, Arturo Zurita, and joining me, I had one I'm not even going to say it. Some challenges related thing. I'm just going to keep it as blank as possible. Open ended, like the ending. It's Zachary Chevy. What's up,
Yeah,
dude?
we don't have the benefit of an R rating here on YouTube. I mean, we could, but it's just not that easy for the algorithm. We gotta satisfy the advertisers and keep it PG here on Weekend Must Watch. But what's going on, buddy? How's your week been?
Uh, Busy, but I had the time to catch challenges, which I think has been everybody's like talk of the town until you probably go outside of like movie circles and then nobody knows what it's about. But other than that, a lot of birthday weekend. April's, I think, where most of my family's got birthdays, so it's been a lot of celebrating for there.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
and just hot dogs as well. You?
As I'm about to sneeze in the middle of you asking me a
And
question.
allergy
Uh,
season.
Yeah, that too. Right? It's been a nice week. It's finally getting warm around me. I'm spending some more time outside, longer walks, some nature walks, just enjoying the warm weather. Luckily, I've had the chance to see Challengers a couple of times. That's basically the movie that everybody seems to care about right now, and we're gonna be back with a Challengers spoiler discussion right after this live stream. So we'll get in on it too. But outside of Challengers, there's just not a lot else that riveting going on in the movie world. I feel like this week.
Yeah, I think we should just jump into it because the biggest one that came out was a movie that I was excited for back in Toronto called Boy Kills World because it looked like Bill Skarsgård was ripped. This man looked like he was about to do some raid action since there was some actors from that movie that were in this. Did you hate the violence?
You know what? No, it's. I think there's actually a lot of like pretty cool, over the top, really bloody action choreography in this one. It's just that they kind of bury all of it under this like winking, needless voiceover that's sort of in the style of like the Deadpool movies or something. It's just such a like. There's so much grating comedy that like I feel like the balance of like stuff I dug versus stuff I didn't just tipped in the direction of stuff I didn't.
Yeah, I had heard that originally he was doing the voice for this character that supposedly is like, he can't speak, he can't even really hear,
Yeah,
and there's a
silent
narration.
warrior kind of
Yeah,
thing.
he does a narration over like his thoughts, and with it being his voice, that's kind of interesting. The person they chose, let the people know because I don't know if it'll pop out all of his roles here, but it's H. John Benjamin,
Yeah,
who's very specific.
yeah. I mean, the voice of Bob on Bob's Burgers, Bob Belcher. He's also the voice of Archer from the long-running FX show. A pretty talented voice actor. I really loved him as Coach McGurk on Home Movies as well.
Damn, movie, so yeah,
He's not. It's not that he's untalented or unfunny. It's just that first of all, it feels really really shoehorned in. Like I in my letterbox review I said that it was almost like he was doing a riff tracks or like an audio commentary. He feels
yeah,
added in after they've done everything already. And also, like, as you mentioned, they're sort of using this voiceover as the way of projecting the Bill Skarsgård character's thoughts out there because he doesn't speak otherwise.
yeah,
But H. John Benjamin's voice is such a strange match for Bill Skarsgård's face and the experience of being this kind of like warrior monk or whatever. Like H. John Benjamin doesn't get across the like silent, strong warrior type.
yeah. It's supposed to be their idol from the video game, and I can think of like a
Exactly.
dozen other voices that would have fit that a lot better. So I agree with you that part was a little off. It becomes this like tonal clash because a lot of the movie is him trying to figure out like where he came from. It's your pretty straightforward action movie
Mhm.
where he's just beating him up. I think Bill does a fantastic job for his physicality. There's a
Mhm.
lot of camera movements where you're seeing him whipping around, and they keep it with long takes. When he's fighting Mad Dog at the end, that delivered everything that I wanted in the fights. I thought the blood, the effects, a lot of even the visual style and the flair was pretty cool. But then they get to parts of the story that I thought were absolutely stupid. So if you already
Yeah.
have some tonal shifts that don't work, I thought the ending completely fell flat. I think there are
Mhm.
bits that you can see far ahead, and the parts that you're like, but I don't see how they're going to connect it. Once they deliver you how, it's lazier than the switch that they did of the voiceover. And that did not work for me at all. Uh, Jessica Roth, who plays one of the like warriors who's battling it out there. I was wondering why she was doing Happy Death Day like interviews talking about there being a third one, which I'm crossing my fingers for. It's because she's in this movie and she is
Mhm.
jacked. She is completely ripped. She's technically working for the bad guys as the like right hand person who's
The
making sure that
muscle kind
everything's
of.
yeah. And I thought she delivered that pretty well. Charlton Copley is just the same character in every movie.
Yep, as is Brett Gelman, for what it's worth, who also shows up in
Ah,
this movie.
you saw the controversy?
Yeah,
The
with
the
Ehrlich's
the
review and the
the
since
tweeting and
deleted
deleting there?
comments.
Yeah, I mean, interesting stuff. Definitely go
Yeah,
check it
you
out.
reap what you sow, I feel like, a little bit there.
You you definitely do, especially on this end, because I know all the smack that he was talking through the Stranger Things discourse because of the other boy.
Mhm.
He got brought up as well, and they're like, we're
Mhm.
just gonna ignore half of the Stranger Things cast. But then like IndieWire also moving his review is weird because I don't get what the president there is if him speaking about a person in that manner is not something he's allowed to do. You're gonna have to change 90% of David Ehrlich's reviews. But I don't know. I don't know what pull this man had, but I was telling Alina, do you remember who he's married to?
Used to be married to Janixa Bravo, no longer. Yeah.
Oh, he's having a tough weekend. Oh, oh
Yeah,
my bad.
I don't think that's new
It's
news,
not
but
recent, I guess, but
yeah.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And they've signed opposite petitions also recently. So there's that. But yeah, Brett Gelman,
Boy Meets World right there.
yeah, not
Sheesh.
having the happiest time right now.
Dang, that really
Uh,
sucks. But you know
yeah.
what
You
doesn't suck for
mentioned
is Andrew
oh
Koji because he was really good in this movie as well. I didn't give him much to do, but
no.
he's in Warrior. He did some decent stuff in Snake Eyes. He's more of a comedic role here, but if you haven't checked this guy out, he's definitely one to seek out because I think he's going to be a big action star. Kind of already is.
Definitely. You mentioned the action cinematography and like those sweeping cameras. I think some of it reminded me a bit of how Deadpool shoots action scenes, a little bit of like the Matthew Vaughn Kingsman style.
There, yeah.
But honestly, the thing that I think it reminded me the most of is like a maybe bloodier version of the way they shot the fight scenes in Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's not maybe quite as kinetic as the way as what are the YouTube boys called again? Um, the way
Oh yeah, I'm blanking on their names, but yeah, the ones who helped out with that.
exactly, it's not as kinetic as the way they choreograph stuff, but just the way that the Daniels like to have these like big camera sweeps, or sometimes they focus in on like a tiny little like body detail that will lead to
Yeah.
like a spot of humor. It felt very reminiscent of Everything Everywhere All at Once. That all being said, they do this thing with drone photography, and every time they do, it stands out like a sore thumb. It's all the ugliest shots in a movie that is like not honestly usually good to look at. All the ugliest shots are when they fly a drone around and they get Bill Skarsgård like with maybe like a corner of the frame.
Yeah. Look, I was really anticipating this out of or TIFF, sorry. And I do think it delivers if you just want a dumb beat 'em up movie. It is one where you could watch it on mute. And technically, if you're listening to our critiques, it might be the better way to watch it. I think it still delivers on its violence, but the story and the voiceover aren't really the best. So
Yeah,
I'd say seek it out when it comes home.
and the fight choreographers were Brian and Andy Lee. I forget what their YouTube channel is called. His
Wait,
brother.
so it is them.
Oh no, I'm talking about the who I
Oh, okay. I
couldn't
was about to say,
remember from uh geez, what's their name though? Is it Marshall Club?
no.
Something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
those guys who did the fight choreography and Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's not quite on their level, but there
Mhm.
is some satisfying action stuff. It's just that like the characters are bad, the jokes are irritating, the voiceover is super gratuitous, and it all kind of drowns out what could have otherwise been. I feel like the filmmakers didn't have faith in their premise. Like
I
there's
mean,
just make it simpler. Cut out some stuff. There's a joke that actually it could be funny where like because he is deaf, he's like trying to read lips and he can't read this one guy's lips. But then they like beat the joke over your head and do too much in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, and there's also like a lot of elements where he also has his the character who plays his sister kind of like guiding him throughout, and it also
Mhm.
becomes something where it's just like I think you're leaning too heavily in that in
Yeah.
ways that isn't really helping the narrative. But uh, again, Boy Kills World out in theaters now, but wait for it to come home near you instead. We have a split one right here. I was able to catch one VOD. You were able to catch another. This one that I'm going to cover quickly is a movie called Femme that is actually based off of a short film that I really liked out of Sundance. I want to say a couple of years ago. Um, I've made the joke that these boys look a lot like each other, right? And in that, I want to see if I can pull it up over here. George McKay plays the feature version here, but then it's my boy
Harris Dickinson in the short.
in the short. I think Dickinson in the short did better, even though he has less to work with. I think the short is very concise. It gets to the point. This one does elongate a lot of the tensions and things that they were able to wrap up previously, but it's pretty much this story set in the UK, London, if I'm not mistaken, where there's a group of gangs. One of them falls in love with a trans masked dude, and
Mhm.
in that they kind of start this relationship in secret, but because he's such a leader in his like gang, he doesn't want people to know about that, but then he's kind of keeping it a secret, so it becomes this back and forth of who's going to be the one who's overseeing the other person. If you like Central C, they play that man's song throughout the entire like they just play different segments of that song in the movie. I think the colors pop out just as much as the short did, so it keeps that aesthetic, but I think the way that they kept it tight in the short was just a little bit better, but it's a decent adaptation for the story that's playing out in VOD if you're interested. Femme.
Nice. Yeah,
Oh,
I
and
was
Josh says
curious.
it's on Netflix. So if you're over in the UK or even here,
Oh,
get on a VPN and boom, even better.
there you go. Is this like an interesting role for George McKay? Because like I don't know if I've seen too much of him outside of 1917.
Out of the stuff that I'm like looking at right here, no.
Yeah.
I don't even think that the original role was the best of Dickinson because that man's done
Mm,
so much stuff from Beach Rats and such. So uh, it's more of an interesting role for the lead for sure.
nice, nice. Curious to check that out. I was able to check out Humane, which is the debut film from Caitlin Cronenberg, the daughter of one David Cronenberg,
I know.
the iconic body horror filmmaker. Also, she's the sibling of Brandon Cronenberg, who we've got a couple interesting films recently from in Possession and Infinity Pool. Humane is a bit different than what her family members have worked on. I think sometimes there's like an expectation that you're going to get something that's very similar, and this does have sort of like shades of horror. So I think people are have their like hopes up for like a body horror movie in the tradition of Cronenberg, or something that's like a little psychedelic the way that Brandon's movies can get. And this is not either of those things. It's more of like a dark, frightening social satire. I was with this movie for a bit in the first 20 minutes or so. I thought there was some really interesting world building. It takes place in a not so distant future where climate change has accelerated and destroyed a lot of humanity's ability to cultivate crops. So people are starving and the world's at war. But it's ultimately about this family drama and the family members kind of deciding on their future. And I thought there was an opportunity to explore like the potential moral and ethical questions that humans will have to ask themselves in a not so distant future where climate change has severely impacted the way we can live our lives. And what it ends up being is the family chasing each other around a McMansion with knives for about an hour. It's just like a really fascinating world, and then the least interesting possible plot you could have pulled out of this
Ugh.
world building. And I'm just sort of I'm a little bit like, why are we here doing this, watching this movie? I think there's so many interesting questions that they could have explored, and ultimately just ends up becoming another like rich people are narcissists, eat the rich style satire. And it just feels very toothless in the end. It just doesn't have that much of a distinct perspective. It doesn't have that much revelatory to say. There are, there are moments where I think the humor of the characters shines through. It's funny in spots, but not enough to recommend, and not enough to really get me excited about this member of the Cronenberg family.
Any like moments? They're really good at like coming up with decent scenes, or they're scared, like not even scares, but like visuals or character moments that stood out.
I think there's some kind of like fun moments with an actor who you've probably seen in a lot of places, Enrico Colantoni. I recognize him for like from Veronica Mars and stuff. He sort
Oh,
of plays like a government agent, and he brings a lot of like he, sort of very very dry humor that cuts the tension throughout the film. And I thought he's where a lot of the funniest moments happen,
okay.
in just sort of like the future bureaucracy and his kind of bluntness in delivering bad news to this family. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Jay Baruchel was okay. Uh, Emily Hampshire gets to really like chew up the scenery and dig into her character, but I just found it to be a bit of a weak effort.
All right. I believe this is maybe in theaters, but it's virtual if I'm not mistaken now, so you can catch it on VOD if you're
Yep.
curious. If not, I think the boy Cronenberg, brother Cronenberg's got a couple movies out there, especially from this past year. I have to definitely go watch. I've been
Yeah.
meaning to watch Infinity Pool
And
again.
David Cronenberg's got a movie premiering at Con later
Let's go.
or next month. The
Let's do it.
Shrouds. Yeah.
What's that one about? Do we know?
I don't know. I want to say that I heard it was like his longest movie ever, and it's still under 2 hours.
Really?
I could be
Oh,
completely
hey,
wrong
they all
about
keep
that.
them tight. I don't think
Yep.
like hers is 93. What's his names have also been 90. They pack a punch
They're
with what
not
they have in
wasting
there.
your time at the very least.
All right. Other than that, we have probably the biggest art house release of the week as I pull it up over here. Paramount Plus's Knuckles was able to release 6 episodes all in one go. You said you caught one. I caught all 6 in the background, so I think
Okay.
we're even. Knuckles. It's a mini series, meaning that they took what really would be a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then did the Quibi effect where they chopped it up to make it a
Mm-hmm.
series. It kind of equals up what would be the running time of a feature length film. It's got the budget of a feature length film. It's got Idris Elba as the voice. What do you think?
Um, I think that I mostly tolerate the Sonic movies. Like I enjoyed the last one, and a lot of it is due to my love of Jim Carrey and their willingness to let him just go off and be goofy, and also my appreciation for Ben Schwartz, who I find to be very funny and does good work as a voice actor. I think he's good at delivering a quip, and even in the confines of like a kid's adaptation of a video game character, I found him charming, more charming than I found a lot of the voice acting in like Mario or something like that. Knuckles as a show, outside of half of the first episode, completely lacks that. It is instead about the adventures of Idris Elba's Knuckles character, who is kind of like the Drax of the Sonic world. He's like
Yeah.
a kind of lunk-headed warrior type who, he sees the world differently because his whole view is like everything's a battlefield, or you're training to be a warrior or stuff like
It's
that.
all literal too. Yeah.
Yeah, very very literal kind, or like, misinterpreting meanings of things kind of thing. And there's only so much humor I feel like that can be derived from that. They also end up leaning a lot on the Adam Pally cop character who was in the last movie as sort of the like reluctant partner to Knuckles on his misadventures.
My
And it
man.
just like, I don't know. I like Adam Pally a lot. They're
Right?
not exactly doing the best work here. I think the writing is very much like children's sitcomish. So it's, I don't know. It's
Ooh.
just very broad. Like even the way that they have people dress, it's it all feels like cartoonish in a way that rings rings like I don't know. I don't want to say cheap because it doesn't look cheap, but
Yeah.
feels like dress up, right? And I can see it being like a good diversion for children, but there's like a while it looks as good as the movies for the most part, I feel like it's not as sharp as the movies.
It doesn't have the talent from behind there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still got the visuals on screen from when I was
Mhm.
watching it. They like do some like 2D cartoon flashbacks and stuff. So I think there's gonna be some interesting things in it. I'm gonna have to rewatch the whole thing. I was working on a video, so I had to play in the back. I've covered every every Sonic property so far from 1 and 2, so I have to get
There you
this.
go.
But I agree with you. I think you're missing the two people who like really make it, and I think even in the Sonic series, it's not even Sonic, it's Jim Carrey who makes it.
Mhm.
I've gone in 2 theaters for both of those movies for that man. Last Good and Pally, bro, because I love Band-Aid, one of my favorite movies. What? I see he's in the gutter, and I know you like the gutter out of South by.
Yeah, yeah, it's a small part, honestly.
What?
I don't know what's going on because he's a really funny dude, but I feel like he ends up in a
I
lot
don't know what
of
happened.
junk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Free Adam Pally.
please put him in something good.
Other than that, Knuckles out on Paramount Plus,
You
which
gonna
is
watch it
still
again in the
around.
background?
Yeah, I'll probably watch that. Hey, I'll put it on the background right now.
There you go. Perfect.
But it's a short week in movies. The Challengers talk is really where it's all going to be at. We're going to be covering that
Mhm.
right after this. So we're going to jump into the news as well as some intercutie questions. Look in the chat over here. You had one starred.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of the marketing for the Watchers. Joe C is asking us about that. I think it's like the Watchers Chapter One. They're calling it because now everything is has to be a Chapter One if they're doing it for the prequel. You
What?
seen anything for this?
What do you mean, chapter? Like the movie's now changed its name to Chapter One,
No,
or
the
there's like a
Watchers Chapter
pre.
One, the beginning, or something like that. I think, or maybe I'm
Ooh,
mixing
like
it up
AR.
with something.
Wait, like ARG leading into the movie?
I don't know. I don't know. The Watchers movie. Maybe I'm mixing it up with something else, but okay. So oh no, I am mixing it up with something else. The Watchers is the one with Dakota Fanning. I'm thinking
Mhm.
of the one. Um, shoot, there's another one coming out. I'll take a
Strangers.
look. Yeah, The Strangers.
There you have ARG for the Strangers.
No, I think they're just calling it Chapter One, dude.
Oh yeah, no, they are calling it Chapter One. I had made fun of that. We're at this goofy era where A Quiet Place, Day One, the first Omen,
Right.
the first Orphan. Like yeah, it's goofy. But wait, I guess Josie.
All right. So The
I'm not
Watchers is
sure too much of the marketing.
the one is that's the one from Ishana Night Shyamalan,
Yeah,
M Night's daughter. It stars Dakota Fanning. I don't know if you've seen any of the trailers for it.
I saw the first one. I'm not sure if they're doing anything different in the marketing campaign, or by marketing campaign we mean trailers before the movie comes out. But I have
Yeah.
noticed that the Shyamalans, they got the summer booked. His daughter, who was I think first AD, she was like a unit production manager. She had a big role in the last Shyamalan,
Right.
Old. Now she's doing this movie. This film has an advertisement in Shyamalan M Night's movie when they're passing by to go to the what is it, the Philadelphia
concert?
game. Yeah, that's gonna come out after this one, and that movie stars his other daughter who's a pop star.
Yeah.
Nepotism at its best at that point. My man is
That's
cashing
product
in.
that's product integration right there.
There
He's got
you
the whole
go.
family book.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I
great.
thought the trailer for the Watchers looked intriguing. I don't really, it looks Shyamalanian for sure, but
Looks very Shyamalanian. You got a theory right now? I'm thinking,
please tell me
is them?
they're watching themselves. They
like,
are the Watchers.
They are the Watchers. It's like
Yeah.
this meta thing about how we're just watching ourselves.
Sure.
That's what I'm throwing into the ring. Wait, we'll see who can aggravate us and confuse us more this summer, Shyamalan or Shyamalan.
Hey, yeah, where are your hopes higher for? Ishana or M Night?
Watchers. I don't know why.
Watchers?
There's no more Watchers. Yeah, actually Watchers, because I don't believe that man's getting out of there. I like Josh Hartnett. I'm all here for the Renaissance. That man's not leaving that place. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Why
man,
did they get him going in? That makes no sense to
Right?
me. We locked it down. We know you're going to be in here. We didn't scan you. Like what?
Makes no
So
sense,
yeah,
but
I'm
I'm
gonna have to
still
go with
here
the
for
other
it.
one.
The trailer for Trap was
I'm gonna be
awesome.
there for both. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm hoping maybe she comes in with something special. We'll see.
yeah,
I also like the
definitely,
visuals in that movie. The story for the Shyamalans. We'll see where it leads us, but
definitely.
uh, I'm so excited for both.
We also got a question from Devesh, but with May around the corner and us kind of fully into the summer movie season, what film are you expecting to win the box office? A lot of people are picking Deadpool as the favorite right now. Devesh is not so sure because it's a R-rated superhero film in the year 2024. What's your front runner? Who do you think is going to win the summer?
Yeah, I think that with it being rated R, that might cut a lot of what it has going for it.
Mm-hmm.
I have big hopes for Planet of the Apes. I think that'll do decently well. Not willing to say it's gonna be number one.
Yeah.
Trying to pull up what other movies we have coming out the blockbuster. If you can name some off the top, because that's the only Marvel
Yeah.
movie.
Right.
Deadpool.
Well, so there's we're getting A Quiet Place Day One. We're getting Inside Out
That could do
2,
decent.
the new Bad Boys. We're getting
Ooh,
uh Furiosa, The Strangers, which we were just mentioning, If, the John Krasinski movie.
be
But
for real, bro.
yeah, honestly, my front runner, I think I'd go with Despicable Me 4. It's a
That's the easy
proven
pick, yeah.
franchise. It's a proven
Universally.
franchise. It's done well. I
Hmm.
feel like particularly we're seeing with sequels, a lot of them grow. And if you look at like Kung Fu Panda 4, that movie continues to do well at the box office right now because there are no good kids movies in theaters. They are so few
Yo.
and far between. And there's a good chance that not only would Despicable Me 4 have a big opening weekend, but it might have legs, it might stick around for a little
Mm,
while.
yeah.
So that would be my pick for at least the front runner. Because there's also just a lack of huge blockbusters. This is, I think, another one of the things that has carried over from the work stoppages last year is the movies that should have been filming late into 2023 to get ready for summer 2024 just took that much longer to get into production.
I agree with everything you say, which is why I'm locking in Garfield, which is going to be coming out.
It's possible. I don't think it will happen, but I mean,
They
one
said they
more
got
Chris
early
Pratt
screenings.
movie.
Hey,
He's been in a
hey,
lot of big hits,
we doubted that last Chris Pratt movie.
right?
Billion
Right.
dollars no for Mario. So if I had to pick one, I guess I'm going that one. But yeah, it should be an interesting blockbuster summer. I think there's gonna be a decent amount of hits for it. Did you get an invite for the Back to Black movie?
Not yet.
Amy
No,
Winehouse?
I don't know if they're sending out invites for that.
Yeah, I've been hearing some mixed stuff there. The match says over Inside Out. Sadly, I do think. I mean, you could see it. Illumination did beat out Pixar last year, and Elemental was a surprise hit. Inside Out 2, I do think it's gonna have legs. Don't get it twisted. But Cars 2 type legs? I don't know.
Mm.
You know?
I, I
So
I think that Inside Out is a more like ethereal kind of franchise. It's a little bit more introspective. You have to think about those movies a little bit more. Whereas
mhm.
Despicable Me, it's more of a easy entertainment. You can take your whole family and
Just
sit them
minions.
down, and hopefully the kids will
or
be
the boy
quiet for two
or the boys.
hours.
Don't forget,
Or the
or the whole
boys,
boys
yeah.
dressed up.
The gentle minions might show up. Who knows?
All right. What news we got?
Well, the Tony Award nominations are out tomorrow, and we'll probably talk about some of them maybe next week. I don't know,
Okay.
but I did think we could talk a little bit about some of the shows that are out on Broadway right now because while I wasn't watching movies this week, had the chance to go see Merrily We Roll
Oh,
Along,
sick.
the new revival of the Sondheim musical with Jonathan Groff, Lindsay Mendez, and Daniel Radcliffe. I thought it was a really
Oh,
lovely show.
Daniel Radcliffe?
Yeah, your boy, Daniel.
Oh, my boy is great up on screen. Wait. I know her too. I know she's in a lot of things, but
Yeah.
she's in 21 Chump Street, which
Is
I
she?
listen on repeat.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, yeah, Lindsay Mendez, maybe
She's an OG, yeah.
less familiar to people who are not like into the theater world, but is very, very known and respected and won basically like every award that an actress can win for her part in Carousel a few years ago. But you mentioned Radcliffe. He kind of gets the number that stole the show from me. It's called Franklin Shepherd Inc. There's like a music video for it online on YouTube as well, if you are curious to check it out. It's like a classic Sondheim patter song with lots of like really fast singing and little jokes here and there. The show is really interesting. First of all, this is like a legendary Sondheim flop. It closed 16 days after it opened. It's like one of his worst performing shows ever. And it hasn't really had a successful Broadway adaptation until this most recent version of it. And when you listen to interviews with the actors, they try to sort of credit that their approach to the story has a bigger focus on the elements of friendship in the show than the elements of show business that are present in the show. And I think you really feel it because their dynamic is really wonderful. They have such great chemistry together. The premise of the show is that Lindsay Mendez and Radcliffe both play writers. Jonathan Groff plays a composer. They're great friends, and it tracks their relationship over the course of about 20 years, but it does it backwards. You start with them in the 1970s as their relationship has kind of fizzled out and they've grown far distant from one another, and then scene by scene you go backwards through time. And it also plays kind of in reverse to most Broadway shows too. The big kind of emotional confession songs come at the very beginning rather than the very end, and the sort of like bright optimistic stuff all happens at the end because of the construction of the show. But it has this really interesting effect in that like you're as the show gets brighter and happier, you kind of end up feeling more melancholic because you see all the things that they've lost throughout the years. And they do a really good job of like planting and seeding things. You know, it's really cool. This show came out, I think, in like 1981. So playing with this kind of construction, you know, years before like stuff like The Last 5 Years made it famous, I thought was really, really interesting. They are doing these performances through July. So if there's any chance that you're going to be in the New York area, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It probably will end up getting a couple nominations tomorrow. But yeah, I had a really good time with this one.
Fire, dude. Daniel Radcliffe on stage is something that everybody needs to see at some point. That man is electric. I forgot the one I got to see with him, but
was it Lifespan of a Fact? I feel like that. Yeah,
with our boy really with Carnivale. Oh, he was so. They were both fantastic, and I love that play as well.
If you've never seen him do live theater or musical theater for that matter, Google or YouTube the How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying Tony's performance. I went back and watched it after this. He is incredible, like dancing his ass off, really good on stage.
He's better in Broadway than he is in movies.
I mean, maybe I really enjoy him on stage.
He is another person I feel that with, but I haven't been able to see him yet. Andrew Garfield. That's a person that I would love to see on stage because I feel like he's great in movies, but I feel like on stage something else might come out. But yeah, that's awesome. Let's see some of the other ones. Mary Jane.
Yeah, so there's a lot of shows on right now that have like big talent in them or have recognizable names. So I just thought I'd shout them out just in case you find yourself in the Manhattan area and interested in catching a show. Mary Jane is one that I believe just opened, and it is Rachel McAdams's Broadway debut, which I know a lot of people are excited for. She's one of my favorite actresses, and to get her kind of really able to flex her stuff, I feel like, you know, there's one thing to be able to act in film, but to hold the stage in that way, and apparently she almost never leaves stage during the run of the show. I'm really excited to see what she does with that, and it's apparently one of the front runners to get some nominations at the Tony Awards. Another show that I'm really curious about is Uncle Vanya. This is a classic of theater. And if you might recognize it recently because it was the play that was featured in Drive My Car, actually. That's the play that they're mounting.
No, you're right, yeah.
Exactly, the classic Chekhov play they're mounting. But here you have a really star-studded cast doing it at the Lincoln Theater. It stars Steve Carell, of all people, not my first choice for something that's supposed to be like one of the most depressing.
You don't want to the Drive My Car remix? Remake?
He loves to get into these like much sadder roles, though. Like I think he really thinks of himself as a dramatic actor forced to do comedies.
Dead in real life, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
But beyond Steve Carell, you also have Alison Pill, Alfred Molina, Anika Noni Rose, and one of my favorites, William Jackson Harper, is also in this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Okay.
a really star-studded cast in Uncle
Sick.
Vanya. There's also the production of Appropriate that's playing with
Oh,
Sarah Paulson.
okay. Start
And
with this one, bro.
right, Corey Stoll is also in this one. Another
Hey,
actor
okay.
I'm really curious to see. Sarah Paulson strikes me as
Modoc.
one of those people who would really, really eat the stage up, just be
Mhm.
incredible to see live. But I did want to point out the director of this play, Leela Nigerbauer. She is also the
Oh,
director of Uncle Vanya, so she's got two plays currently on Broadway. And if the name is familiar, it's because she directed Causeway 2 years ago, the Jennifer Lawrence film
interesting.
that got Brian Tyree Henry nominated for an Oscar.
So what's she doing? Matinees and then going to the other, the other
Right?
theater?
Like I don't know when she's
10
sleeping,
p.m.s.
but
That's
yeah,
hey, that's raw. Shout out her. Nice.
exactly. Um, this one just closed recently, but it is considered a favorite to get some nominations. So I wanted to shout out that Doubt was on stage recently, the John
Yeah.
Patrick Shanley play that
Got
became the
emails for
Meryl
this.
Streep, Amy Adams film, the Seymour Hoffman movie, and it's now back on stage, or was back on stage. It was with Amy Ryan and Liev Schreiber.
Wow.
That would have been
That'd be
dynamite.
decent. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
decent.
yeah.
All right, that's sick.
The other play that I currently have tickets for that I'm really, really excited about is
Uh-huh.
Illinois. This is
Slept on
the
this one.
I know, dude. This is the adaptation of the Sufjan Stevens album made into a new Broadway musical, and it is directed, choreographed, and co-written by Justin Peck. If that name is familiar to you, it's because he's the guy who did the choreography for Steven Spielberg's West Side Story recently.
That was pretty decent.
Pretty decent. Like the dancing in that one.
What theater is this playing at?
That's a good question. I don't know if it says on the website there. I believe it is on
St.
Broadway.
James.
Okay, St. James Theater.
Is that a good theater? Because they had it at Navy Pier, which I thought was interesting for us. I was like, dang, they had it at the Shakespeare Theater that they had
That's the
renovated.
thing, right? Like it did a bunch of dates outside of New York. I think we were even talking about if we should get tickets to one of them, and I decided to sleep on it. And now it is a potential Tony Award nominee.
Sick. I've been hearing great things from this one.
Two last ones that I want to shout out. Patriots, starring Michael Stuhlbarg, talking about actors who are incredible and would probably be incredible to see live. I'd love to see a play with Michael Stuhlbarg in the lead role. And then the other one I have listed is The Mother play, which has not only Jessica Lange, but Jim Parsons in it as well. Parsons, who I think has been doing a lot of theater more recently.
Wasn't there one with Succession?
Oh, you're totally right. I should have mentioned that. I actually have tickets to this one next month. Enemy of the People is the name of that one. It stars Succession's Jeremy Strong. And, knowing what many of us know about Jeremy Strong and his preference for method acting, he's apparently like staying in character like throughout his run here.
Is this the one where there was a protester and
yes.
Michael Imperioli kicked him out in character?
Yes. Well, the other interesting thing, and I'll have to report back on this because I don't know this for certain, but like it's one of the things that's interesting that Enemy of the People is they do it in the round. So there's people on all sides of the stage, and the stage I believe is a bar. I've heard that at intermission you can go up to the bar on stage and order drinks, and some actors stay out there. I'll report back because that sounds awesome, but I've never seen anything quite like that. But yeah, we'll see.
What was the comedian you saw where the thing was that she was sitting outside?
Oh yeah, that was Kate. What's her name?
Kate Berlant, right?
Kate Berlant. Thank you.
She would just sit there while people were checking in. She's like right outside Kochuk.
Yeah, it was so funny. I know she did that play actually in LA a little bit recently, but yeah, Kate Berlant is so funny.
Good for her.
But yeah, this is because the Tony nominations are soon. This is essentially like Oscars season for Broadway. So all of the big name plays with big time actors are in the middle of their runs, like right around now. So if you are somebody who does like getting to see live theater, coming to New York and doing some Broadway shows, this might be around the time that you want to make some of those plans.
Nice. Very cool. I don't have Broadway. but we did finally get a good player in the Chicago Bears for the draft.
Hey, yeah, hopefully he turns out better than Fields, right?
Oh
Caleb
my
Williams?
goodness, yeah, we got rid of that boy immediately, faster than he scrambles out the pocket. Yeah, no, my brother, like, he made a whole day for this. He had a shot ready to go. Everybody knew who was going to be the number one draft pick, and this was like a ceremony here in Chicago. We're welcoming this man in with open arms, polished nails and all. You know, I'm excited to see him play. He definitely looks like he's going to be the future for us. I just had to give him the shout out right there because the Windy City finally back for the
There
Bears.
you go, man. Now you just need some luck for your Cubbies.
Hey, they're doing okay.
They are? Okay,
They're doing
good.
all right.
I
We can
haven't
always
checked the
use more luck.
standings.
Don't get it twisted, but yeah, they're fine. We have a trailer that isn't fine because we were a little concerned when it came to one of the greatest directors of all time getting a Disney check that we're not against because we know that this is the way the game needs to be played, one for us,
Yeah.
one for them. But we feel like they took him away from us to make Mufasa. Zach had me watch this trailer right before we started.
Yep.
It's crispy.
Yeah, I guess. I can't say that it looks quite as impressive as the first one felt.
How so? What do you mean by that?
I mean, like, it's crispy, but at least when we saw the first one, it was like, all right, this kind of looks like Planet Earth. Now it looks like more of the same.
I feel it looks more Planet Earthy.
Okay. Well, we have those like snowy environments and stuff too that are
They
nice
look cool.
change. Yeah.
But none of this feels like what I want to see a narrative in. I
Yeah.
feel like y'all created the greatest green screen in the background. I can't even tell. So where are the actors? So where are the characters? Where's the emotion? I don't know, dude. I'm mostly concerned because of the director involved. When Jon Favreau does something like this, no offense to him, but I've seen him do Iron Man 2. I know that he's playing ball, testing out technology. He said this even with the Jungle Book, right?
Mhm.
That he takes IP that people know, that people will go and see, and thus they can test out whatever technology they're doing here. What is Barry bringing to the story that is a prequel to Mufasa, which I don't think has been covered yet?
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember my Lion King lore, but I don't believe we've gotten a chapter 1.
No,
I know chapter 1's
I don't think that was covered in Lion King 1.5.
Yeah. So, speaking of, those two are coming back. Beyonce's
Right.
coming back, and
Glover's coming back, and now we're getting Blue Ivy, the debut of Blue Ivy Carter.
for the 5th time. But Childish Gambino also coming back, which is really what I care about. Did you hear those leaks? Or not even leaks, but the debuts?
Yeah, the Gilga Radio stuff. Sounds fire.
That's really fantastic. Do you have any faith that the direction from Barry Jenkins will be able to showcase itself through this?
Well, look, if I had any faith, this trailer isn't doing anything to back up that faith, right? Like, I'm not looking at this trailer and seeing from the director of If Beale Street Could Talk. I trust Barry Jenkins a lot. I think he's a fantastic filmmaker. I think just about everything I've seen that has his name on it, I thought was at least very good, if not phenomenal. But I just don't know about this whole backdrop. I want him to be painting on an eel with a nice palette of colors. I feel like this is like giving him chalk drawings to do on a sidewalk or something, right? Like, I don't know how much he can do in this realm. I'm going to bring up Merrily We Roll Along again, because I thought there was an interesting point in one of the, or a resonant point in one of the songs, because one of the storylines of this is about these creative partners who end up spending less time making stuff together because one gets more involved in the money side of things. And during that song I was talking about earlier, Franklin Shepherd Inc., Daniel Radcliffe's character says he's very good at making money, but there are people who do it better. He's also very good at making music, and no one does it better. And that's how I feel watching directors like Barry Jenkins walk into the world of big IP filmmaking. It's like, I'm sure you're good at making money in this way, but there's no one better at making Barry Jenkins movies. And I wonder if you can make a Barry Jenkins movie in the world of The Lion King.
Yeah, because even I was going to ask you don't think he might like Barbie it be able to enter this big IP world. But even in Barbie, they wrote it.
Right.
Here, somebody else did, and it's coming from the person who did the last one. So you already know, I feel like, what you're gonna get. Sadly,
How much stamp is he really going to put on these movies? I think really what it is kind of like what we were talking about last week, or maybe a couple weeks ago at this point, in that like at the best case scenario is it's giving Barry Jenkins a chance to test drive some of these tools and see what could I be capable of as a filmmaker if I expanded my vision to maybe include some of the things that are possible in a Lion King. And you kind of like do what Ryan Johnson does almost, in that like he spent his time in Star Wars and now he gets big budgets for Knives Out to kind of go have his fun.
but he wrote Star Wars,
Yeah, exactly. And
right?
I have not a lot of excitement for Mufasa.
Hey, he brought Aaron Pierre up with him.
There we go.
That man was with him in that the Prime show, Underground Railroad. Now he's voicing Mufasa. I respect that. At least he's bringing up his dudes with him, and yeah, like you said, maybe he brings something that he's able to apply to some of his movies. Hey, worst case scenario, he said the script was good. Maybe the check was in the way of the size.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Looks great.
They teased that this one's going to have original music from Lin-Manuel Miranda. How do you feel about that?
Why aren't they playing the music?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, look, he has made a lot of great music. I know it's like popular to rag on him now, but like, I think when
He's gonna make good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when he's got the right spark of inspiration, I think he's still capable of being a really great.
That's a great point. We're talking about the writing. What is this man really writing? If it's Lin-Manuel now really doing the music, that dude did Encanto so far. Like the lyrics were so much of the script that he got a writing credit without even working on the script. When he did Little Mermaid, who cares? That all people were doing was judging what was already known. When the Lion King, the last one, came out, people were just judging and basing it off of the animated film. So if this has no reference point and it's all original music, I don't know, maybe there could be something special there, I guess, because now we won't have something to judge it to, and they're actually will be doing something from scratch. We'll be able to fall in love with these songs, maybe the same way we were able to with the originals. I'm just trying to be hopeful. I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
When does it come out?
Ooh, that's a great question. I want to say it's like a Christmas release or something like that.
Oh, damn. Yeah, December 20th is the expected date. So Mufasa, The Lion King, Zach's giving it a stream it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty short. We got to get into the challengers talk, so it's time to get to the most important part of the show, the shout out to the Intercutie patrons.
Let's do it. Thanks to all those wonderful people who support our show, the Intercuties. The Academy tier is to Shar, Cademan, Connor, Josh, May, Ricky, Joe, Wiley, and Benji. And the producer level patrons are Yudenveer and Toon. Huge thanks to all of you. Huge thanks to Trevor Adams, excuse me, who became our first YouTube member. You can also join the podcast on YouTube by clicking the join button when you're watching our program. And for as little as $3 a month, you get access to a whole bunch of behind the scenes material, including look ahead to future episodes of the show. Sometimes you get some early access to certain episodes, including our recent Challengers review is available for patrons before it was available for everyone else. We're going to be recording an Alex Garland bracket, which is also going to be available for patrons before it becomes available for the general public. So to get stuff like that and to get invited to our monthly patron Google Hangout live stream, whatever it is, which will be going on later tonight. You can chat with us about movies and the latest happenings in entertainment, all for as little as $3 a month on patreon.com/intercutpod, or heading over to the join button on YouTube and signing up to be a member.
Yep. Interesting thing that we said last week for the YouTube thing is that you get these badges so that it's actually counting towards you being a member for 1 month, 3 months, 4 months, even up to a year, and gives you special emojis. So when you're in the live chat, even if you're not on here and you're commenting on a future video, they give you like a special little member tab with a badge that makes you pop out even more. So it's a nice little addition if you become a YouTube member also.
Oh.
But
And
that's
shout
pretty
out
much
to Brandon G, who either just joined or joined so recently that I didn't notice
also
until just
fresh.
now. Yeah,
Ooh,
fresh
nice
members.
incoming in.
The club is
Second
growing.
patron just came in. Beautiful.
Landed.
All right, let's do a little look forward at the coming attractions because, like you were saying, we got our big blockbuster season coming up ahead, and it begins with The Fall Guy, a movie that you and I just completely missed at South by, but we did have one
Yikes.
of us go in there, and it was Amanda, and
Yeah.
she came out loving it. Her #1 movie out of South by. I've been hearing nothing but great things. How are you feeling? Because I know you're not a David Leitch fan. I went to your house and you put his head on your dartboard. Are you hoping this one actually hits for you? Because I've been
Yeah,
liking the
I mean,
trailers.
that's the thing, right? Like the trailers are pretty charming. I think there's some comedy in there that is a little bit eye roll worthy, but there's other stuff in there that looks really fun. And most of all, it looks like it's got a lot of fun stunts from the
Yep.
people who know how to pull off fun stunts. I'm hopeful at this point. I've heard enough people kind of like say positive things that it's calmed down any fears I had about this movie going into South by Southwest. I know I was kind of a downer about it, but look, Ryan Gosling is among the most charming movie stars we have, period. And he's
Mhm.
going to do a
And Emily Blunt.
real leading
She's
man
funny.
thing here. Yeah. I mean, it seems more like it's his movie than their movie, though.
Gotcha. Another one which I thought had come out a while ago, but Jundu Berry, the movie that I think played overseas at some festivals, starring the one and
On
only
last
Johnny
year?
Depp. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You looking forward to this?
No,
No.
I think it got pretty bad reviews out of Cannes. Everything that I've read about its director, Mai Wen, is nuts.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've heard some crazy stuff.
so yeah, I mean, I also sent an email and it went on red. It got left on red. So nah, I don't care.
Wildcat is another one that's out. Ethan Hawke directing his daughter Maya Hawke, in what I believe is supposed to be like a biopic of sorts to an author. I know this is getting
Yeah,
limited releases as it rolls out, and then doing a lot of Q&As for it as well.
yeah. Curious to see that matchup of family. I think this one is supposed to be kind of like about Beatlemania too, or something like that. I could maybe
Really?
that's an upcoming movie, and I'm mixing them up. But regardless, we're definitely going to check this one out and talk about it on next week's show.
You got Turtles All the Way Down listed for Max. This one starts Isabel Merced.
Yeah, it's the adaptation, the latest adaptation of a best-selling John Green novel. So I'm sure there's some
Oh,
teenagers somewhere who will cry their eyes out to this one. I've liked my fair share of John Green in my day, so I'll probably watch it.
hey, I like the director too, Hannah Marks. I shout out her.
Right.
She did Mark and Mary and Other People recently. After Everything, Don't Make Me Go. All right, have this one on the radar. You yay or nay on this one? Unfrosted. My man imploded. Said if you don't like my, he went like a YouTuber trying to make movies. No more
Yeah.
bad reviews. Everything's gone. Comedy's
Yeah.
over.
Oh man,
You looking forward to this at all?
I I think when I first saw the trailer, I felt like I might get some laughs out of it. The more I see, the less I'm like excited to watch it.
Mm,
I mean, it's got enough comedians that I'm either familiar with or still have some warm feelings towards that I will check it out. But now I'm beginning to dread checking it out more than anticipate it.
damn. And then last, Hulu is releasing Prom dates.
Mm.
Anything about this one?
You tell me. It's the first time hearing about it.
Didn't you link it?
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I think I did link it. I got an email about it. That's all I know.
Oh, I'd have something to say, but yeah, I don't know anything about this one, but I do recognize her. She's from Ginny and Georgia. So
Okay, cool.
there you go. Moving on to my picks for the week, I'm going with Slow, a movie that premiered at Sundance, I think 2 years ago. But this one's interesting because it's not covering your normal relationship. I think we've covered, pretty much everything on the spectrum except this specific one. I don't really know what the trailer like lets you know, but it's something where it seems to clash with the intimacy that we get in a lot of these romantic movies. So it's a very fascinating look at their breakdown and how they try to connect with each other. I would highly recommend it. Really good performances and a very well written script, and it is coming out on limited release. Another one that is also in limited release was a movie that we got to catch back in Toronto, and I've been liking it a lot more because that ending really stuck with me. It's a very patient movie, and we had just mentioned Hamaguchi's last one in Drive My Car, so people should know this director. This is his follow-up in where there is a town that's like independently running its stuff. Like they literally source everything with the stream water that's still clean. And then this glamping site wants to come in there and like establish what's going to be this crazy Airbnb type setting that people can come in and out. And they kind of want to stop it. You follow this one dude who has, he kind of gets the stuff for a restaurant, or actually he runs a restaurant in making ramen. So you get to see his process of how he gets the materials and such. It's a very patient movie, but I think that patient setting at the beginning really winds up towards the ending of it, and I think it has a very killer ending. I would highly recommend it if you were a fan of his first movie. If not, maybe wait at home, but it is good.
It's a movie that seeds a lot of really interesting themes and ideas and characters along the way, and I don't know if it all feels like it like is coalescing in the moment, but it builds to a really interesting place. And as you mentioned, like I think it does stick with you. You know, I feel like this is a point that I say maybe too often on the show, but I feel like some movies are really fun to sit there and watch, and some movies are really rewarding to have watched them and then be able to just think back about them and think about what they did. And this one maybe is a little bit challenging when you're watching it, but really rewarding when you like think about some small element of it 3 weeks later and like, yeah, that is like da 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 in real life or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Nah, I thought it was pretty good. You heard the comparisons that they were making fun of them for wearing like Uniqlo, and then someone said it's really funny y'all making fun of them because they actually source their stuff. It's actually Perfect Days that was completely sponsored by Uniqlo because the producer of Perfect Days is the son of the guy who owns Uniqlo.
That I knew. He's the reason I believe that Wim Wenders went to Japan even in the first place. But the rest of that I didn't know.
A little interesting when you're the son of the Uniqlo guy making a movie like Perfect Days.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. My next one and final one would be
speaking of movies that stick with you.
Oh, I saw the TV Glow. Yeah, I caught this twice at Sundance. That's how good it is. If you are looking for like if you need that David Lynch fix that we are just not getting in theaters, this is the closest thing to that. Something where you are just going to be, you're going to have the tone of this movie sticking with you. South by audiences seem to have laughed a little too much with this one, but this is one where honestly, we talk about watching movies as groups with a partner. This is almost one of those you want to watch alone. This is one where you want to have a personal experience with what's going on screen. I think it is. It has an incredible score. It has an incredible visuals, incredible performances, and it's one where I've been hearing so many different interpretations. Obviously, you know, knowing the director, you can have a base interpretation of it, but people's different takes on what certain characters do and how it's shot, the way it mixes ratios. I think everything in this movie fires on all cylinders, and I would highly recommend it, especially in theaters. I saw the TV Glow.
Definitely. It's one of the few movies that I feel like we can guarantee will be some people's favorite movie of the year. Like there are people who absolutely will adore this one. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who come out of it feeling kind of confounded and maybe a bit underwhelmed.
For sure. Yeah. I can see people seeing it being confused, but I would challenge them to say that it's a bad movie because there's stuff in this that's like awesome. You may be like, I don't get where this is going. It's a little too artsy. But I don't see artsy as an insult. I see a boring movie or something that like falls apart as an insult. This has like so much artistry in it, and that's why I respect it.
Definitely, and I think people would be hard pressed to walk out of that movie and not feel at least a little bit haunted.
Hell yeah!
All right, my top 3 picks for the week. I'll start off with the show that I keep bringing up, but if you have a chance to see it before it leaves Broadway on July 7th, highly recommend Merrily We Roll Along. It's an incredibly charming cast doing one of the overlooked Sondheim musicals, and it's really, really beautiful and profound and funny, and a good time at the theater. So definitely check out Merrily We Roll Along if you can't. And if you can't make it to New York, they got a few songs up on their YouTube as well. The soundtrack is available through streaming. So at least give it a listen, give it a look, do something. But in terms of movies, I'm going to start with a documentary that's going to be on Hulu on May 2nd. Let's talk a bit about The Contestant, because this is a documentary that's chronicling the true story of a man who lived inside of a small room, only subsisting off of food and other items that he would win through radio contests and other like write-in giveaway type of things. It's all this. It's this stunt that was performed for a Japanese reality show, and it ends up being this really fascinating exploration of the way that consumerism kind of flattens our empathy and the desire to watch something to be entertained can make us deny like the sadness that is very apparent to us. To me, I felt like this was watching like a Stanford prison experiment that the whole country was laughing and clapping along to. I found it to be incredibly powerful, more unsettling than most true crime documentaries that I've seen, tell you the truth. And while the documentary's approach is a bit boilerplate with like talking heads and kind of a lot of translated moments to sort of make it easier for the viewer. They also have this weird kind of like Fred Armisen style Japanese game show-esque narration that I'm not sure always works.
Really?
The impact of it, I think, is hard to deny. I don't know if the documentary figured out the best way to wrap up its story, but the way that they will sometimes juxtapose the guy who was at the contestant on the reality show and then the guy who was the producer of the reality show and have their words stand next to each other, it really will send chills down your spine.
I've been hearing great things out of TIFF, I think is where this one premiered, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I hear it gets really, really what's it called? I'm just excited for it. I'm
It's
looking forward to it.
disturbing for sure at some point.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Good.
it's highly recommended. And
then on the complete flip side.
Well, before we get there, if you need one more reason to watch The Contestant, it tracks the origins of the eggplant emoji. Art, you've sent a eggplant emoji in the DMs at some point in your day, right?
Only to you.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I know. I'm familiar with your tactics.
Really? How? Okay.
You'll have to watch.
I wasn't gonna watch it opening night, but now. Speaking of eggplant emojis.
Yeah, let's talk about The Idea of You. This is a 180 for sure, but the upcoming romantic comedy on Prime, and I believe it actually is getting like a theatrical showing or two. I know it's playing at Regal Union Square here in New York City. Maybe it's playing in a city near you. It would be nice if it was playing in a lot of theaters, because I thought this was a really enjoyable group movie theater experience. Get your best friends together to watch this one and hoot and holler at the screen, because it is a really interesting update on the Notting Hill style romantic comedy where a famous person and a not famous person romance each other. I think it's very knowing about its premise. Like, it knows that it kind of is a salacious story and it leans into that salaciousness. It never really denies what it's doing. Characters have the conversations you want them to have. This is not a movie that's beating around the bush. It's charming. It's sexy. I think Anne Hathaway really understands the assignment here and is so fun opposite Nicholas Galitzine. I just had a really delightful time with this one. And we walked into the South by Southwest screening. I mean, I know, at least for me, I was not anticipating much out of this film, and I had a really delightful time.
They've been releasing the singles from the band since they got this whatever the songwriter was to actually create like what sounds like top 40 hits. Mm-hmm. They haven't been tracking at all because there's a lot of other music out, but it really helps build the world of this pop band that's again supposed to be based off One Direction. So I agree with you. Very steamy, very sexy. Hey, challengers, then this, then that. Sexy's back in the movies, bro.
Mm-hmm. It's a week of Riz at the movie theater.
There you go. Hey, and maybe even in the theater. I don't know how Merrily goes around. I don't know how merrily they go around, but running it back, I got Slow, which may be the opposite.
Yeah.
a little bit, but still a very romantic story that's out this weekend. I have Evil Does Not Exist, which is a very patient movie, but I highly recommend it. I saw The TV Glow, another one that is very artsy, but boy, do I recommend it.
I'm recommending, if you have the chance to see him on Broadway, Merrily We Roll Along is delightful. And if not, you can at least watch some of the music videos on YouTube. I'm also recommending on Hulu the fascinating documentary, The Contestant, which takes a look at at the limits we're willing to push people for the purposes of entertainment. I thought it was more haunting and riveting than most true crime documentaries. And my last pick for the week is The Idea of You, the funny, sexy Anne Hathaway romantic comedy where she gets down with that world's version of Harry Styles.
We're calling it Marry Me in the comments, bro. But that's all for this week's show. Again, we are going to be doing the Challengers full spoiler thing right afterwards.
Yeah.
Be sure to sign up for the Patreon or the YouTube memberships because we're going to be doing some Patreon hangouts tonight along with an exclusive Garland video that y'all will be able to get early. But you can find more from me over at LME Movies on all social media, from YouTube, Letterboxd, and all that good stuff. Zach, where can people find more from you?
Find more from me at Zshevich across social media or at Multiplex Show anywhere you find videos.
666. A reminder that you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, all that good stuff. You got Pocket Cast. Is that a good one?
I've heard good things.
Good things? Well, yeah, check it out. You can catch the live video here on youtube.com where we go through every weekend must-watch pick every Monday. A big shout out to all the Intercuties who listen live, all of the patrons, and all of the iTunes listeners who leave us that 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Did we chart anywhere this week?
Yeah, we were all over the world. We charted in Nigeria and Greece, in the Czech Republic, the UAE, Singapore, Portugal, Turkey, South Africa, the Netherlands, Norway, Mexico, and we were even top 30 in Canada this week. Thanks,
hey. I like it.
Yeah.
Big thank you for all that. Again, a big shout out to all of the Intercutie patrons that are out there. A reminder that you can sign up to the Patreon or the membership page where you can get your own badges and start building up how long you've been an Intercutie. Get some special comments, special shout outs in the chat as well. And then be able to get stuff like our extra videos and the Patreon hangout that's happening tonight. Again, don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow all of the socials over on Intercut Pod. And until next time, keep watching movies. We'll send you some tennis rackets.